right in the middle of an Instagram live, someone knocks on the wrong door. Now, where was I? Existential OCD. That's what I was talking about. Existential OCD is always going to get a grip in a way that OCD is always looking a way to get in with chronic anxiety towards your life. So trying to lock you in a way that your life is currently, you're in chronic anxiety, there's something to be terrified of. That's what it's going to do. Okay? It's always looking for that situation. Now, when it does that, and when it tries locking on and causing trouble like that, you need to view it as bringing it along for the ride. Once you start trying to eliminate it completely, that is when you get into trouble. If you keep trying to, I've got to get rid of this, I've got to get this fixed today so I can move on with my life, it loves that. It loves that. It loves things like holidays coming up. I've got a holiday coming up. I've got to have my anxiety all in the right place before my holiday. It loves that. So that is why it's crucial to bring it for the ride. That means you are distracted a lot of the time, but healthily, not trying to run from it. Feeling distracted, but not trying to run. Feeling what you feel and leaving it be there. That is key. Any advice for accepting uncertainty about past events OCD has attached itself to? Well, it won't necessarily release if you're just trying to leave it there with uncertainty. Often you'll need to get into it with learning unconditional self-acceptance to get under it, which is a process that takes time and practice. Unconditional self-acceptance is a philosophy, a way of seeing things that's evidence-based, scientific-based, that you can see it makes sense. But it takes a while to see that and to feel that. It is a situation where OCD for me relating to false memories, real event OCD wouldn't have lifted. It would have just stayed stuck on in the past. Had I not got an understanding of that, because it wouldn't release. It would say, you've committed something in the past that made you bad. So only when I broke down that idea of good and bad and seeing that wasn't so, did it then start releasing. But that took time and practice to do that. So if you're just leaving it with uncertainty and it has not released, you'll have to get a deeper level of acceptance because it won't release. If it released that easy, everyone would feel it having released. It will give you intermittent times where it's released and then other times where it's locked back on. Now, sometimes you can create distance and learn to create distance and with the anxiety, with the intrusive thoughts and the events and so on. But usually it does tend to grip still. So you need to get an understanding of a deeper level of acceptance there. And then when you've done that, you don't have to become fully accepting, but you have to become more accepting to help release that. Can intrusive thoughts manifest as paranoid feelings towards loved ones that you know is false but still? These are usually ones where reassurance-based people checking, so I am cautious about answering those. Now that you're recovered, what are some exposures you still practice regardless if you're having a good or bad day? I don't really practice any exposures because I'm working with OCD all the time. So when I see things that I'm afraid of, I move towards them and I don't run from them. So I'm always looking at things to challenge myself and push myself towards. That's always important. But at the same time, what I'm not doing is I'm not sort of, if I notice myself getting anxious or something coming on to create that cycle again, I'm not just sort of forgetting about it and not doing anything about it. People get stuck because of doing just that. They get better and then run off having fun and don't entertain the idea of doing things to get better from OCD, and that keeps the cycle, gets the cycle going again. I think there were some questions on the last Instagram live before someone rang the doorbell and I stopped it. If you want to ask those again, because I didn't see those come through a moment ago, if you do that, then I'll respond to them. Any questions you want to ask on OCD, fire away. I am here now for the next 5 or so minutes, and I can answer anything you want on OCD. Tips for rumination compulsions. Rumination when it's physical. Well, you're ruminating, but no, not when it's physical. Sorry, I was thinking about it with compulsions. When it's ruminating, it won't automatically go off. You have to bring the fear down, because often it will be automatic in the head, the rumination, a bit out of our control. 80% of it tends to be us intervening with it and trying to work through it and work it all out and ruminating. But then there's a large part of it which is still going along that cycle that goes just because we're scared, and that won't reduce until we become less scared. So we have to do work there to bring that down. Hi Rob, chance of doing Instagram live on depression and OCD due to rumination obsessions? Yes, absolutely. Depression, the cycle of what usually becomes, not in the form here of clinical depression, but depressive feelings that come on about it, usually come on, and in the same with clinical depression, the catalyst for it is beliefs that we hold, which then cause the next bit of the cycle to begin with. Beliefs that are irrational that then start that chain of thinking. Let's have a look. Touching on what you just mentioned about having good days and not addressing OCD, this happens a lot, and all of a sudden I can wake up and be right back in it. Is this part of recovery? This is part of the process. Some days you'll feel good, some days you feel bad. Now I don't have the ups and downs in this recovery, but in the early days of recovery, it's very much up and down. And in the OCD cycle, when you're suffering, can be very much up and down. Sometimes you can be feeling terrible, and then one day like, oh, it doesn't even matter, and then up and down, it can do that. Any last questions before I go today, guys? All right, guys. Great having you all here on the Instagram Live, and I will see you next time. See you later.